Hello and welcome to another episode of the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Connor Moreno, lead writer for UCLA Bruins on SI. And today, I know I've been gone for a little bit, but today it's finally game week. UCLA will be playing Northwestern to open up Big Ten Conference play on Saturday. They're going to be in Evanston. It'll be a road game, and it'll be the official start of the Tim Skipper era for UCLA. Since it is Monday, obviously you're not going to be listening to this when it is Monday, but today is Monday. We're going to go ahead and get into the updated AP Top 25 polls because it has some pretty big ramifications on UCLA's remaining strength of schedule. So we're going to get into that, the strength of schedule, which teams are in the AP Top 25 for UCLA, and kind of how that affects their season moving forward. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. On ESPN's updated FPI, UCLA has the number 11 remaining strength of schedule in the nation in all of college football. Number 11, obviously it's huge. Out of 139 teams, UCLA is ranked number 11th in strength of schedule, and they're already 0-3. That is tough. That is a tough pill to swallow. But the thing about it is that the 10 teams above them are all ranked within the top 25 of ESPN's FPI. UCLA is ranked 93rd in the nation. And not only that, but in terms of game control, which is another analytic or statistic that ESPN uses, which is just kind of how the average top 25 team would control a game for the remaining of the season. UCLA is ranked number 132 in terms of average in-game win percentage, which is actually a huge stat. Basically decides how this team would fare in a game, or whatever in-game probability to win the game. UCLA is ranked number 135. Out of 136, UCLA is ranked 135 on ESPN's average in-game win probability. That is just insane to me, honestly. And, last week, I think UCLA's strength of schedule, well, not last week, but I think before the New Mexico game, either before or after the New Mexico game, UCLA's strength of schedule was ranked 12th. So they shot up into number 11, and I think that has a lot to do with the updated AP Top 25 because many of UCLA's remaining opponents are within the AP Top 25 or have received votes. So obviously the AP Top 25 comes out every year. UCLA had a bye. Many of UCLA's opponents had a bye, actually, but that doesn't mean that there were some big shockers, because there were a couple of UCLA opponents who really jolted up in the AP Top 25, and I wanted to talk about them today. So, obviously this comes as Tim Skipper is appointed interim head coach. UCLA has a bye week. Tim Skipper kind of tagged it as a training camp, so that way they could reset. UCLA is going through a reset, but while UCLA is resetting, many of their opponents on the remaining schedule are only getting better. And honestly, every week you've seen their opponents getting better. I've written about it every week, updated how their opponents do at that given week. They're just only getting better. Many of UCLA's opponents entering week 4 were undefeated going into the week. So that just kind of tells you right there how good UCLA's remaining opponents are. Minus Northwestern. Northwestern is 1-2. They're 1-3 or 0-2 in Big Ten play. So yeah, or 0-1. I don't know, 1-2, 0-1, whatever. But yeah, let's go into the top 25 where UCLA's opponents are in that ranking and kind of how they're faring going into week 5. So number 1, still Ohio State Buckeyes. There was no change there. They claimed the number 1 spot after defeating Texas in the opening week of the season, and they haven't looked back. They had a bye week this week, but in week 3 they just easily handled business. They beat Ohio 37-9, and this week they open up conference play against Washington. Up next, we have number 3, Penn State. kind of one of the sooner opponents for UCLA. They dropped down one. I think Miami is number 2 right now, but Penn State, the Nittany Lions, are number 3. They remain undefeated on the season, 3-0. But many would argue that they really haven't been challenged a lot. I mean, they opened the season against Nevada, FIU, and they cruised past Villanova in week 3, beating them 52-6. But before taking on UCLA in week 6, they play their first, pretty good and formidable opponent, Oregon, in week 5 this week. So that'll be a good game to watch, and I think I'm going to write it down right now. That is going to be one of the games that I think UCLA fans should watch going into this week, aside from obviously UCLA versus Northwestern. And number 11, one of the biggest movers in this week's AP Top 25, Indiana. They moved up 8 spots from number 19 to number 11, and they had a statement win in week 4. They not only took down number 9 ranked Illinois, but they dominated them 63-10, and they moved up to number 11. UCLA, as I said before, they now have 4 opponents ranked in the updated AP Top 25, but with Indiana, that marks 3 that are in the top 11, which is just, daunting, honestly, when you look at the schedule. Up next, at number 21, we have USC. They moved up 4 spots from number 25 last week. They kind of flexed their offensive explosion and potency and kind of potential against Michigan State this week. They beat them 45-31. They were up quite a bit in the middle of the game. I think they let up a little bit against the Spartans, but fourth ranked opponent on UCLA's remaining schedule. It's going to be a tough hill to climb for UCLA going forward. And honestly, 0-12 is still on the table, unfortunately, which is why they need to handle business on Saturday against Northwestern. I don't typically talk about the others receiving votes, but I think it's important that I talk about Maryland. They received 6 votes for the AP Top 25. That puts them at number 33. They were one of the biggest stories of the weekend. They opened up conference play with a dominant 27-10 victory over Wisconsin. The Terrapins, they were one of those teams that entered the season below the Bruins in many of the Big Ten power rankings, especially on ESPN's FPI. A lot of teams were ranked below UCLA on ESPN's FPI going into the season. But, they had an undefeated non-conference slate, and now they followed it up by taking care of business against Wisconsin on Saturday. It's another, if Maryland's going to be this type of team, then when they play UCLA in Week 8, that's kind of another projected loss for the Bruins. So, it's going to be a tough road ahead for UCLA, but that is the opponents that they have in the updated Top 25. Tomorrow we'll go ahead and get into more of the Northwestern preview stuff. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. We'll see you tomorrow.